Hello. Here again, and as usual, we are here on TALKSHOP for the sole purpose of telling the truth and letting the chips fall where they may. Also to remind all of us that truth crashed to earth shall rise again. And something we can never forget. And also to invite our gendarmites. You know, I don't call them gendarme people anymore. I call them Yehushi Academy. Yehushi Academy. So to tell all the Yehushi Academy, fine, but just be aware that all the gendarme and the lies that you throw out there, will do our best to suffocate your gendarme with the truth. And it's a promise that I'm making to you. And finally, the great question that you all ask, what time is it? And the answer, nation time, man. This is going to be answered for a long time, Charlie. It's got to be nation time. You know, when you hear people migrating because they want to go to the US, they want to go to Canada, they want to go Hawaii, they are going to places where they have built their nation. And what they are going to do there is also add and give up their labor for those people to enjoy so that they keep building their nation. No, seriously, Ghana is our nation. And we really have to build this nation. Folks, look, when Nkrumah declared long ago that we're going to prove it to the world that we are capable of managing our own business.
From now on, there is a new African in the world. That new African is ready to fight his own battle and show that after all, the black man is capable of managing his own affairs.
I wish that we'll get to that time. You know, I didn't come here to talk about those things. All I want us to be aware of today, folks, Ghanaians, that the only time the people like me and like you will start appreciating us, said Charlie, we are now getting somewhere, is one thing. Is when we start seeing ourselves as one nation. Not as a tribe, not as a party, not as a religion, but as a nation. The nation comes first, your tribe, religion, whatever comes in. This just by the way, I'm looking forward to the day that when you have to fill out any application form, they don't ask you what region do you come from. Oh, maybe if you're East, if you're Ghana, if you're not, useless. Before any nation can go somewhere, there has to be a national identity, which we don't have. Mahama, with all your agenda to reset, your biggest challenge now is how you can get all of us Ghanaians to start thinking and believing that we are one nation. And I know you can do it. I know there are many, many people who are interested in nation building who will help you get to that place where we see ourselves as Ghanaians. This is what I want to talk about today, folks. You know, there was a whole hullabaloo some time ago, few weeks ago, when Kojo Nkrumah had a press conference to alarm Ghanaians that there was something fishy going on the gold board. We had to quickly get together as a nation because there are fishy things going on. Ghana has lost $214 billion in a few months, and within the next year we're going to lose $300 billion. This is fishy. You know, we have to do something.
As a caucus, when we run our numbers, we can project that it's going to get to about $300 million by the end of this year. 214 million in losses under the Gold for Reserve scheme is just 9 months.
It all came from an IMF report. So, as a nation, that's how we've been trained by the colonialists to think. We've been trained to think that they are our superiors. They are our masters. And when they point something to us, it means that we're going wrong and we must quickly get together and find out what we're going to do. My thing is this. When we get to a point where we realize that institutions like the IMF and the World Bank and the Bretton Woods, when we realize that the value they have in our economy has been shrunk, that is where you and I should start lifting our hands up and saying, yes, Ghana, and for that matter, Africa has been born again. Until then, no. When they sneeze, we catch a cold. We are so tied to the IMF. We've been to the IMF 17 times. 17 times. And I pray and I forbid, as Nigerians say, that we will go to IMF an 18th time. It must stop. Then what I want to talk about today is this, that look, Africa, Ghanaians, we have to start now thinking of how we can use our own ideas, our own intelligence, our own thinking to build our own country. People may come and help, but at the end of the day, folks, it's our intelligence, it's our commitment, it's our drive, it's our passion for this nation that will save the nation, and not that of the IMF, not that of the US, not that of Britain, nobody else. You know, sometimes I look at nature and I marvel. There's this bird, it's called the weaver bird. They build their nests in the tree, and they build it so that they put the next and they build it so that the opening is at the bottom. So if they have to go into their nest, they have to go through their opening at the bottom before they go into their nest. I'm not talking about the nest. Next time you see that nest, see a nest like that, take a look. See how intricately it has been woven. They weave a nest, and they build it in such a way that it's open at the top, and then it comes down narrowly where they can enter. And wow, this is an animal. The complicated weaving it does is just phenomenal. And yet the weaving is amazing. You know, forget the birds. Look at the anthill. You know what we call an anthill? So ants, they build out of dirt. They build a whole hill. Sometimes some are short, others are longer than me. I've seen ant hills that are like almost 9 feet long. These are built by ants. And they build this using dust. And they have to use their own saliva to wet the dust and build sometimes something that is taller than me. These are ants. Well, you know why I'm saying all of this? The ant doesn't say, oh, I need to build an anthill. Let me go over to see the rat. And I said, the rat says, I'm going to build my hole. Let me go and see the dog or the mice. No, no, no. They depend on themselves. And walk around. Even the animals know that whatever wisdom they have to survive depends on themselves. Look at the weaver bird and the intricate way they weave their nests. Forget about the weaver bird. Any bird nest that you see, twigs of leaves of plants, twigs, mako, they can weave it all together. I think if you bother to count, there will be about almost over 5,000 twigs that they weave and build their nest. These are animals. They don't depend on any foreign aid. They don't go to any other animal for help. They do it themselves. If, as Africans, if as black people, we can even for once think that, Charlie, this is our continent, this is our country, these are our people. What can we put in place for the people, the country, to benefit from using our own intelligence? You'll be amazed. But colonialism has advised us that we are the last port of call. If you're a leader and you need help, first look to America, or look to China, or look to America, US. Look elsewhere first. And when that elsewhere doesn't work, then I try another place, another place. You are the last person you should come up to. Because you have made yourself believe that you are an inferior being. So Africa to date is in the hands of Europeans. When I say in their hands, I mean it's mostly they control things like that. That's why Traoré made such a big difference in Africa when he came on. Because the things that the French people wanted to do, the France wanted to do, when they're doing a budget, it must be France. Overnight, or say, let us do them ourselves. And the French was praying, hey, you want to do it yourself, you fail, you can't do it. Why can't they do it? They're Africans. So what? Because Africans are not trained to think, to do things for themselves. So they will fail. And Traoré was still doing it, and he was using his intelligence and using his geopolitical power and succeeding. And to date, it's a source of worry. And if you think today that they have now recognized Traoré as a very intelligent leader that they like, guess what? You are so wrong, it's not even funny. They can't stand him. Why? Because that effect can influence other African countries. What Ghana is doing now with the gold board and how Ghana is positioning gold to become a very significant part of our foreign income to hold our city, to hold our, is amazing.
The issue, what are the benefits? Assume, let's even grant them, we've incurred that, and let's even grant Kojo Oponkrom's $300 million, that is the cost. What has been the benefits? $10.8 billion foreign exchange inflows, $10.8 billion. Because of that, we have met our foreign reserve target for 2028 in 2025, 3 clear years ahead of time. When MPP was signing on to the IMF program, they said they will attain $11 to $12 billion reserves in 2028. We have done that in 1 year. Because of that, for the first time in about 3 decades, the Ghana cedi has annually appreciated against its trading currencies. 40% appreciation in your adult life. When do you recall something like that happen?
I've been unsure if this is organic and this will stay.
Very organic. 40%. We have brought the retail dollar rate from about 16 cedis to now below 12 cedis. Interbank from about 15, 14.7 to now 10.4.
The Fitch prediction was that we would have gotten to
15.5.
15.5.
They are all shocked.
By the end of
even
this,
the IMF is shocked. And because of that, our external debt has reduced by over 100 billion cedis. External debt. That is why debt to GDP has moved from 726 billion cedis, constituting 61% of GDP as of December 2024, to now 620 billion cedis, constituting 45% of GDP. Debt servicing. Even before I talk about debt servicing, let's stay here. Lending rates, or if like the Ghana reference rate, which is the benchmark for lending, for loans, has reduced from 28% to 15.9%. Something, you understand? Inflation has declined for 11 consecutive months. 11 consecutive months. From 23.8% to 6.3%. Food inflation declined from 27.8% to 6.6%. And according to AGRA, food prices have reduced by averagely 32%. If you look at debt servicing this year to last year, 2025, external debt, the Ministry of Finance had to service $3.6 billion, $1.8 billion to IPPs, and $1.8 billion to Eurobond, debts.
Actually now
about 3.6. You see,
2.5 billion right now.
that money, if we were servicing it at 16 to the dollar, which is what we took, or even assume that, because if we had not done this, the dollar would have crossed 25 cedis, like Dennis Miracles Abuaje said. If we had not done what we did, and so it would have even been far more. But even if you peg it at 16, as compared to what we are doing now, we've saved over 16 billion cedis on debt servicing. This is real saving to the taxpayer.
Does this include the $709 million
Yes.
that has just been
because
paid?
Because that $709 million,
by which the state has saved 3.5 billion Ghana cedis.
Because that $709 million, the finance minister would have had to convert cedis at a higher exchange rate than now.
Yes.
So that difference is what I'm telling you.
At least if we are using the Fitch,
yes,
we would have had to convert to 15.5. But today,
and the saving is still more than 10 billion.
Today it's at 10.1.
Exactly.
You might benchmark actually to budget.
We even benchmark it at 11. The saving is more than 10 billion cedis.
Okay.
This is not a joke. The impact has been a significant national economic gain. The cost is infinitesimal.
And I can only wish Sammy Gyamfi well. I can wish all those who are associated with that, the Bank of Ghana, the finances, wish them well, and not only wish them well, but hope that they can stay the course. Because trust me, this is not something that the West will be happy about. You know, when you read in books, there's something called the Scramble for Africa. There's a whole time when they met in Belgium and carved out Africa. No more fire. You belong to the German, you belong to the US, you go to the British, you go to the France. They call it the Scramble for Africa. They carved out Africa and shared it among themselves. And sometimes we talk about the Scramble for Africa as if it was a past historical event. No. The scramble is going on today. Don't kid yourself. Don't kid yourself. They know what we have, and they are scared that when our feelers of thinking start thinking right, and we know that this is the things we have, and let us try and own it and control it, that's their doom. So they don't want to hear it. So me, I'm just using this to big up the good board. Big up the good board. Because we went to IMF recently for what? 2 billion. We begged them. Yeah, pamucho muni panyfono. Here 2 billion. Yes, sir, mo nanano. Muni eshemo. Ah, sir. Okay, but the muni we answer. Super. Okay, what did you way? And to make sure you spend it well, you know, they send some of their young guys from the IMF, from the World Bank. Young guys like the people you have at Legon and taking Kolankola, young guys, 28, 30, to come and sit in the offices here to make sure that we are spending the money well. Is that what we like? So when the gold board emerges, and from a country that was the year before begging for 2 billion, is able now to make 10 billion within a year, they are not happy. They are not, they are applauding. Oh yeah, go Ghana, Maya, they go. No! Let's look through and see how wrong they are and what happens over. Oh, there's this $215 billion we don't, hey, red flag. There's something wrong. And of course, they'll have many friends from Yehushi Academy who gracefully join and do press conferences.
As a caucus, when we run our numbers, we can project that it's going to get to about $300 million by the end of this year. 214 million in losses under the Gold for Reserve scheme is just 9 months.
When we say cost, when we say losses, what are we talking about? Sometimes people think that Bank of Ghana has taken taxpayers' money, gone to buy gold, sold the gold, and we lost $240 million. Somebody has stolen money or somebody has mismanaged. That is not it. When we say G for our losses, let me explain to you. From 1957 to date, gold is bought in the gold market in Ghana at retail market exchange rates.
You said that already.
The euphemism for black market. Now, Bank of Ghana and Gold Board, we are buying gold from a non-bank market, which is a market made up of small-scale miners and gold dealers. And when we go, we have to buy the gold at that retail market exchange rate. Gold Board has sought to bring it to interbank. But anytime we peg the price to interbank, we realize that prices in neighboring countries like Cote d'Ivoire become higher than ours by, say, 600 cedis per pound. So all the gold goes to Cote d'Ivoire. And sometimes smugglers are offering prices at informal retail rates. So your interbank rate will not get you any gold. So when we buy the gold at the retail market exchange rates, and Bank of Ghana gets the dollar proceeds, the accountant and auditor comes to audit their books. The accountant must now convert the dollar inflow into cedis. The dollar is not really converted into cedis, but for accounting purposes, it must be converted into cedis because Bank of Ghana's books are in cedis. When the accountant is converted, the accountant says, my hands are tied. I know that the acquisition rate of the dollar is retail market exchange rate. But by law, because you are the central bank, I can only convert the dollars at interbank or BOG rates, which is always lower. So that creates an exchange rate translational difference. Because Bank of Ghana is acquiring dollars at retail market rates and converting at interbank for accounting purposes. That is 97% of the losses people are talking about. Then number two, let me tell you the second part of the loss. Bank of Ghana says, by policy design, I want to buy gold at spot to fend off smugglers and make sure that what happened in 2021, when gold output, export output declined from 39.3 tons to 3.4 tons, I don't have that situation on my hand. I need the dollars. Because of that, Bank of Ghana incurs about 2.3% cost. What does this cost? Offtake discount, which under MPP used to be at some point 2.2, came down to 1.25 in late 2024, and now Governor CMA has brought it to 1.1, the offtake discount. Gold board fees, and of course, purity losses. Purity loss basically means that as a country, since time immemorial, we don't do the golden standard of assay to determine purity of gold. What we do is SRF, which is only indicative. But when the international buyer buys the gold, he must subject it to the golden standard of fire assay. That creates a purity difference, and that can cause a loss. That is what we are talking about here. So an accountant is right to pick that and say, from a pure, plain vanilla, accounting perspective, I mean, you've made an accounting loss. But it is, like I said, an intentional, strategic, economic policy cost for superior benefits.
People, Americans have a term, they say we are now woke. Ghanaians, let's woke. Africa, let's woke. Let's woke and realize that what we have, if we are going to use our intelligence to own it, and not only to own it, but to control it. Do you know how much of a bad news that is? A bad news for some people. There are some people that are continued poverty and dependence for them is a blessing. It's a blessing for them that there should be poverty. We should continue to depend on them. They love our leaders who kiss their ass, man. I won't joke. They love their leaders who kiss their ass, and they can't stand our leaders who are revolutionary. That's why when Nkrumah was revolutionary, he was thinking about industrializing the whole nation, thinking about setting up Akosombo Dam. At the same time, we had people from Yehunhwe Academy. Professor Buzia was at U.S. Congressional hearing, testifying, don't help Ghana. They won't use it for anything important. Testify against their country. Now, folks, let me end all of this and say this, that our independence and our thinking of using our own brains does not favor them. Just imagine it, just like the riverbed depends on the vulture for his nest. So when the riverbed wants to build a nest, he doesn't know what to do. He has to wait for the benevolence of the vulture to come and build their nest. Or the anthill that I was talking about. Look at these huge anthills. Huge. These things have been built by ants. One speckle of dust at a time to build this huge thing. Did they wait for any foreign help? Like the ants say, oh, we are waiting for the rats because the rats have to do one. No, folks. Now, this is what I'm saying. And animals, even if animals can depend on themselves to build, then how much more Africans, how much more we human beings can depend on ourselves to build? Very, very interesting question that most of you do not think is important, but that is the bane of why we are suffering in Africa. The leaders are all rushing to various European people. It is not helping us. So for me, the gold board issue, whatever it is, that they've been able to make such accomplishments.
When you hear people talk, Kojo Ponkroma, somebody has made a loss of $240 million. He could have built 12 Agenda 11 hospitals.
Correct.
Then you ask them, how much losses did you make under that same program? How much? They can put that table too on the screen for viewers to see. I have given you, this is from the Bank of Ghana, all G4R losses since its inception. Am I equalizing to score political points? No. Am I comparing losses? No. I am exposing the duplicity and hypocrisy of a group of people who know that G4R is not for profit and yet are kicking the fuss about losses. People who themselves made more losses. So let's calculate how many hospitals their losses could have built. In 2022, they only bought 76 kg of gold. They made a loss of 74 million cedis. In 2023, they bought only 24.8 tons of gold. They made a loss of 2.1 billion cedis. In 2024, they bought only 45.3 tons of gold. They made a loss of 4.8 billion only last year. 4.8 billion. So Kojo Ponkroma, tell us how many Agenda 111 hospitals your loss in 2024, which is 4.8 billion, could have built. 2025, we have bought higher volumes, 103 from 45, more than double. Look at the value, more than times 3, from $3.1 billion to $10.8 billion. And we are saying our loss will be determined, our cost will be determined after audit. But let's assume your $300 million is correct. That is $3 billion. Is that not a reduction despite higher volumes, despite higher prices? If you bought 103 tons like we have done and brought in $10.8 billion, you would have made maybe times 10 the losses you posted last year. So please, we are saying that let's approach the discussion from a position of objectivity. What the Johnson Esiaman-led BOG has done, and I don't like to give myself plaudits, you understand? But what they have done is something worth commending. They have done what in 8 years. What somebody did in 8 years, they have done it in 1 year.
Yeah.
And everybody can feel the benefit. Taxpayers have been saved money. Right. Cost of living has come down. Living conditions have improved. And then you see people saying somebody has made this loss.
Thank you very much.
Please keep it, and let's think of a homegrown solution. What is the backup? If you don't have gold, what is the backup? Or if the gold goes low, what is the backup? That's how we Africans should start thinking. What is the agenda? What is the main thing? What is the backup? And Africans, I beg you, I'm begging you, all of Africans. But let me keep to Ghana because I'm from Ghana. Ghanaians, I'm begging you. The interest of the Europeans that we are always praying for is that we continue to mess up. Why? Because the more we mess up, the more we depend on them. And they love the fact that we depend on them. Because if they want to control you, the controls come from your dependence on them. So if they want to shut you up, they can shut you up because they control you. And when you're starting to do things like putting together your own board, gold board, or doing this and doing that, which is an indication that you want to be of yourself and think of yourself, is a threat to them. That's why I foolishly, quote unquote, will come and stand here today and say, let's all support this government to look in this direction. It started with gold. How much more left there is that we can actually get into to own and control and see the effects. Bauxite. Can you imagine bauxite? Can you imagine lithium? That the whole world depends on. Can you imagine the quantities we have in Ghana? And can you imagine that we have no control over them? Yeah, mobile. Yeah, mobile. Blacks. I don't want to talk about blacks. Ghana for. And yeah, Kufad once said it. It is Picasso come there.
Yeah, mobile Ghana. It is Picasso. O me nyo hiamai. Nenam a memoir enkoyenti no. A come there.
That was the meaning of it. It is Picasso come there. But Marley says in the abundance of water, the food is thirsty. All I'm saying is this, folks. If we seem to be going on some trajectory that seems to be yielding positive results, why fight that? Why undermine that? You must be sick in your mind. The best you can do is, oh, this thing can be faulty, but this is how much we can make it better and contribute to make it better. Oh, this is a good way, but can we try this to make it better? This is the situation you're in, but we can go 10 more levels high, and this is the way to make it better. But instead of that, what do? Undermine it. Sabotage it. That's what I got. If some agents from the IMF came right now looking for agents in Ghana to do things to undermine whatever gains you are making, they'll easily find them. They just have to play one call to everyone's Academy, and they'll get volunteers running to them. Look, let me say this to end my show today. I don't do this, I don't get carried away and talk because Mahama's in power and I happen to like Mahama. No, I'm doing this because Ghana will benefit. And I'm looking at my grandchildren and the kind of future they're going to inherit. I'm looking at the youth of Ghana. Strong, able-bodied, intelligent youth of Ghana, and the kind of country we are leaving for them. That's what I'm looking at. That's why I go crazy every day. I say, Charlie, for once, let's get together and build this nation. I know whatever you do, there are people who are so politically inclined that they won't even see the value of working to build a nation because somebody else. That's all crap. I'm Paul, me and family. If you share and say, EBC or mine. End of discussion. Do you think I care? Oh, Lord. I've workers that I work with in my company, both the hotel and the phone company. I don't even know where they come from. Are they competent? Yes. If I assign them this work, can they do it and excel competently? Yes. So who gives a hell where they come from? Me found away. But this is what is killing Ghana. That's why I say I'm looking forward to the day when, if you're filling uniform, putting together down your region and your ethnic group and all that nonsense should be scrapped. You like go to Rwanda now and walk in the streets and ask, oh, are you a Hutu or are you a Tutsi? They might massacre you. Kagame has worked so hard that division between Hutu and Tutsi has been cleared. There's nowhere that you have to indicate be Hutu or Tutsi. You're all Rwanda. We want to build a nation. And that's where we're at, folks. That's where we're at. And the short thing message today is be careful, because the scramble for Africa is still going on. And they're looking for stooges. Do you know who the stooge is? A stooge is somebody who will and testify in the US or Canada or wherever, say, don't help my people, they are bad. That's a stooge. There are too many stooges in our continent. And as Mahama is embarking upon this reset, there's so much to do. But at least let's start from the beginning with resetting law and order. Let people start understanding that we are all equal before the law. And law and order starts working. That is the beginning of a major reset, then it can trickle down to every other avenue needs a reset. We be here reset in our country. Every other avenue. And I know what do you call it? Yehuhi Academy will call the reset a reverse.
If this is a reset, then we are in trouble. The People's Forum and the view of the people, as you can see, is that we are not seeing a reset, we are seeing a reverse. We are not seeing a reset, we are seeing a reverse.
That one is up to them. You know, that's why I told you that they are stooges that with enemies come down right now and say, help us fight, they will. Let's forget all of that, folks. One Ghana, we are one people with one destiny. Trust me. The IMF, they lend us money so that we pay back. Do you think it's free? Now I hear there's a lot of campaign going on about, they say things are going on. How come electricity bills are going up? People come to Jandam. It's part of Jandam. Electricity and water costs are rising. And it's part of Jandam. Do you know why they are rising? Because part of the conditions we sat down with them to get the 2 billion loan, part of the conditions, say, will agree for you to get the loan, is that from 2026, increase your prices. And you sign it. And then we signed it. And now the same Yehuhi Academy will come and tell you, they say that we are resetting. Why are the electricity bills going up? They're going up because during your time, you wanted 2 billion so much that was signed for it. Folks, let's wake up. Let's wake the hell up. Stop all this. And let's commit ourselves to Ghana. Now we are stuck with having to pay for higher bills, water bills. Nobody knows. But of course, the Jandam people will interpret it as it's one of the bad things that show us that nothing has changed. Nothing has changed because as far back as 2 years ago, when you were in power and you signed and begged for the money, they put that in as a condition. So give us a break now. Let us all come together as one people with one destiny, folks. There's only one thing I want to see, which I'm seeing, honestly, and I'm really wrapping up. People today and KSM, I'll be 70 this year. I always wanted to say that, you know, but that time not soon, but I say time not soon. I just celebrated my 69th, but forget it. I'll be 70 this year. You know how long I've waited to say that? The time on to say, yeah, I'll be 70 this year. No, folks, what I'm saying is this. What makes me happy at this point, people say, oh, but I can't say, what is 70? You won't be there forever. You know, who are you grooming to? You say, yeah. There are people in the country ready to take over. We have just handed over the baton. No. We are standing here rooting for them and guiding them here and there, but the baton is no longer in my hands. KSM, the baton be here. We produce an media man on Basoji Bobeji. Have you watched that guy on TV, Jantua TV? I think it's called Nana Jantua. Nana Mabi or TV3, Ukrabaton. Please don't you ever for once think that, oh, Nase KSM. No. There are more people who are equipped, the youth that are coming up, who are more equipped, who are more aggressive, who are more dynamite than we have ever been. And they are coming. So those of you who are counting on those Tetiti Hono, the youth who don't have anywhere to go, and then you promise them foolish promises and they follow you, think again. The millennials, the Gen Zs, you can't toy with the Gen Zs. You can't toy with the millennials because they read, they are on TikTok, they are on social media, they know. So sit up there. Maybe all I can tell you, I call on all the millennials, the Gen Zs and the whatever, all of you join in, and let's build this country because we can, and we're doing it so that you will have a much better and greater future than we even dreamt of. So until then, let me say, and Ghana will rise again.